Let's keep it moving here. I guess we should mention that Raw did a 3.6. It's the highest rating of the year for Raw. When a rating comes in like that, maybe it doesn't win, but it's the highest rating of the year for you guys. You got to feel like, okay, we're doing something right? Or is it high fives all around, or is it just business as usual?
Well, there was some obviously minuscule celebrating that we had our best number in a while. But golly, you're just. I used to tell people this all the time. They said, "Did you get depressed in those 83 weeks that Bischoff's crew beat your ass?" And I said, "No, not really. I didn't have time to get depressed because I had work to do, and we had, and some days we had another show to do that week or another pay-per-view to do that week, whatever. So there was no time for celebrating and no time for, boo-hooing it. But yeah, there was some. Hey, we thought we were onto something, Conrad, with the reality-based storytelling. Reality-based storytelling that the fans could actually sink their teeth into, and not have to try to buy some silly character that was all it was is a comedic thing and an eye roller. So we thought we were onto something trend-wise that we should continue to travel. This road should be reality-based, and we did that as best we could. And the talents we had at that time were perfect for that scenario, and they loved living those stories out and embellishing on the reality of their lives and their issues.
It's a fun time to be a wrestling fan. How do you find out that the match with Shawn and Brett is off? And what'd you think of the pivot to do Shawn and Austin?
Well, Vince told me after Brett talked to Shawn, sorry, ladies and gentlemen, that after Brett had his conversation with Vince, of course, I'm sure within minutes of Vince hanging up the phone, that he had me in his office, and he had an idea. He said, "I'm going to go with Austin," and that to me was magic, because I was an Austin mark. I still am. Steve's a good friend, still is. I just saw something and felt something that I had not seen replicated in years. There was one period of time in Louisiana, in the Mid-South Territory, where JYD was white hot, and he could do no wrong, and he sold massive amounts of tickets and so forth. And people believed in him. They seemed to gravitate to him. Black people, white people, men, women, adults, children. I didn't know if the children were going to be too crazy about Austin because of his demeanor. But boy, the guys, our primary demo of males 18 to 34 and 18 to 49, loved his ass big time. So when Vince said, "I'm going to go with Austin," number one, I knew that Austin and Shawn would have a hell of a match. And the fact that he gives Austin some great TV exposure in building that brand of his, that it was the right thing to do. So it was a good call. It was the best call we could make, quite frankly, and it worked out pretty good for everybody involved. But I think Brett's knee was not good. And look, hey, you asked earlier, if this was somebody else other than Shawn, and it was really a big thing, and could Brett have worked? Probably he might have been able to work. But I just don't think he sandbagged it, but it worked out pretty good. That show ended up being a pretty damn good pay-per-view.
Let's talk about the situation with Shawn Michaels. Meltzer, he was not kind to Shawn Michaels in this era. He would say, but the situation with Michaels over the past few weeks has gone far deeper than making shoot comments after being told not to, slurring his words on live television, wearing a bandana on his head to signify to the television world he's still best friends with Kevin Nash, complaining backstage about having to do an interview with putting Ken Shamrock over, or even walking out on the company the day he was supposed to drop his title and not returning until after the WrestleMania that he was supposed to return the favor from the biggest victory of his career, thereby screwing up nearly one promotion and being a key factor in the show, doing a poor buy rate, and the company being down literally millions of dollars in revenue from its biggest show of the year. He says, Meltzer would go on to say, that he is ill-equipped emotionally to handle the spot that he's been given, and that came out again in recent weeks when he became at odds with Vince when he demanded a new contract, one that would put his pay at the same level as his rival. And of course, we're talking about Bret Hart there. And when McMahon turns down his demands, he gives his notice saying he wants to join his real friends in WCW, but he's got 4 years left on the deal. So McMahon refuses.
Goes back to that Lee Cassidy situation we talked about earlier. You can't let guys go and just walk in their contract when they feel like they want to leave.
Did you feel like this feels common? I mean, you can tell just by the way Dave says this happened and this happened and this happened and this happened. And then he even says, and I want your take on this, ill-equipped emotionally to handle the spot his talent has gotten him. Do you agree with that assessment?
At that time he was because again, you make a lot of decisions under stress, depression sets in on a lot of things for these performers. And then you add either drugs and or alcohol abuse, self-medicating, prescription meds, all this other crap. So under those terms, Meltzer was probably right under those circumstances. Now, eventually that would be cleared up and he would be fine. As he's very valuable to WWE now. Shawn is in the Performance Center. But yeah, he wasn't ready. He lost his buddies. It just was a whole slew of things. And again, I don't know how his home life was. I don't think it was great. He had not married. He had not married his current wife at that time. I don't believe, which she made a big, big difference in his life. And luckily for him, because we would be talking about him posthumously if he had not met her, in my opinion, and she helped change his life. He had major issues. Now, all that said, he still, along with the Nate, was the two best in-ring workers I ever saw. So he stayed, and even when we brought him back after a 4-year hiatus, he comes back his first night in, and he's as good as anybody we've got, if not better. So he was special in a lot of ways, but he was not nearly able to handle his issues outside the ring as he was to be able to go bell to bell with anybody.
So when you hear, hey, there's an issue with Bret, I mean, do you hear that from Vince and does everybody in the meeting sort of go, oh, fuck, not this again?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think we all knew that the possibility of Bret not having the match because of his injury was there.
No, I mean, in terms of with Shawn, like Shawn wants to be paid like Bret. And it's like, oh, another fucking Shawn Michaels is upset about Bret deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It got old. Well, the other thing is that you don't tear up contracts with 4 years left on them.
Right.
That's not bad. That's bad business. And it's not very smart to even ask somebody that question. He's making great money. And, of course he's talking to Kevin and Scott and, they're telling him how great things are. They're doing it where they want. They run their own show. They do their own program, which Eric might disagree with. I don't know. But that, they're going to paint a very rosy picture to try to get Shawn to come down there with them. And that wasn't going to happen. There was no way in hell. It ain't going to happen for 4 years. I tell you that. So, hold your breath. Don't hold your breath.
It's written in the
Observer.
You
get tired of it. You get tired of anybody doing that. It's like I said, people think I'm oversimplifying shit. It's always about cash and creative.